Amrita, Amrita, are you there?
Hello, yeah, ma'am.
Amrita, can I then log out from the YouTube
Yes.
channel? Okay, thanks. I can see our president of the association is here. So is Vivek Mishra and some participants, Moshumi, Vishnu Parida, Amita, Dino. Good evening, friends.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Moshmi.
Good evening.
तो
Hi, Sandeep.
यार कुछ सुनाई नहीं दे रहा है। Is it started?
अभी नहीं, हम लोग बस शुरू करने वाले हैं।
दादा अभी तक कोई बोल नहीं रहा था।
ओ अच्छा।
नहीं बोले
डर
थे
लग गया।
बीच में।
मैंने कहा इतनी शांति हमें आदत नहीं।
हाँ,
लड़कियां शोर मचाती है या ज्यादा बातें करती है, ये सिर्फ एक मिथ है सर।
नहीं ऐसा नहीं सोच रहा मैं। मैंने तो जेंडर स्पेसिफिक कमेंट नहीं मारा
नहीं
था।
ऑपोजिट सेंस में बोल रहे हैं। हम लोग जब आपस में बात करते
हाँ
हैं तो हम इतने शांत नहीं रहते, इसलिए बोला गया है ये।
अंधाधुंधा था।
आज देखना मनमीत सबके ये जितने भी
मन
जेंडर मिथ्स है ना, सबको बाउंड्री से बाहर उड़ा देने वाली है.
I hope so.
You
मनमीत
will.
सब
I'm confident. I'm confident. Shall we wait for a few more minutes, or should we get going? I see very few participants as of now, but I guess they are
मनमीत
joining.
let me throw a challenge straight away at you when you are
Hi
looking
Ram.
up the thing.
Yeah.
हाँ 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 मैं
Okay.
I am willing to invest let's say 50,000 rupees as per your advice today. You tell me where to put the money and we will talk about it after 1 year. I will not touch the amount.
ठीक है.
Wow.
पहले मनमीत
तुम बताना।
का इंट्रोडक्शन कर ले.
नहीं,
चलिए।
अब वो वाला लाइन मत बोलना वर्षा मैम.
कौन सा वाला?
वो जो मैंने आपको मना किया था.
अच्छा नहीं वो आपने मना किया तो कैसे बोले? मैं
वो
बोल दूंगा मुझे
ऐसे तो
मुझे
फिर
व्हाट्सएप
संदीप
कर
सर
दो बस।
सस्ते में छूट जाएंगे.
अरे नहीं यार, वो मैं संभाल लूंगी, वो तुम देखना.
ठीक है.
ठीक है. संदीप, do you want to start or
ना आप करो यार because I am on the road you know वो मेरा थोड़ा नेटवर्क इश्यूज है।
चलिए ठीक
So
है.
you go ahead. I'll just listen it. Yeah.
ठीक
And
है.
ask.
So once again, my dear friends, welcome to this session that has been organized by the Alumni Association of IIFM. This is the third session on personal finance with a focus on women. The first session was by Devina Mehra, a talk under the Friends of IIFM series. And last Sunday, we had Anjali Mohan share with us deep insights on personal finance management for women and men. And in that session, she put together the essence of several years of learning within a 1 hour compressed course, which was like a crash course for me on finance management. And she left us wanting more. So here we are with Manmeet Kaur, who is also an alumnus of IIFM. She graduated in the year 21 and is currently working with Sambodhi. Manmeet holds a degree in business economics from the University of Delhi and has also pursued actuarial science. I had to look up what that means, Manmeet, from the Institute of Actuaries of India. She has also gained recognition from the International College of Financial Planning, which is a part of Bajaj Capital Group, for a workshop on creating apt investment portfolio. Manmeet, I can't wait to hear you tell us the things that you do. And before I give you the floor, I'd just like to add that Manmeet's knowledge and what she's going to share here with us doesn't just come from what she has learned, but she has also been practicing investment and filing tax returns, etc. For her dear friends, she does it in exchange for a good cold coffee. But for IIFM alumni, there's going to be some discount, but nonetheless, we can't let our dear alumna work for free or just in exchange for a cold coffee. So we'll figure out something that is acceptable to both parties. Manmeet, over to you.
Thank you so much. That's what I'd requested you for. Don't say the cold coffee wala line.
That was only for your dear friends.
Yeah. You are not less than a friend or a family to me, so ठीक है.
Thanks, Manmeet.
So without any further ado, I'll start sharing my screen, and I really want to cover the maximum possible in this 90-minute window that we have. So I hope I'm able to do justice with that. And we can anyway take up individual queries towards the end of the session or in the chat box, or we can connect one-on-one later. So in continuation to Vanjali ma'am's talk last week, I decided to cover some decision-making criteria, particularly on some of the most, not famous, but some of the most common products that we see these days, be it mutual funds, be it insurance, be it some government security, so on and so forth. And decision making is not just in the form of which mutual fund to buy, uh, uh, which insurance plan to invest in, but it also comes in the form of how much money should I spend where and at what time. So that is why where, when, how, and how much to invest. So I would like to continue from where Anjali ma'am had left last week. That was somewhere on the lines of different asset classes. So as many of you would know, or if you don't, I would like to start from the basics. That there are different asset classes which can be categorized as risky, safe, or medium. It also depends on how you see risk and what your individual risk appetite is. There's some sort of echo. Can I please request to put off your mics in case anyone's mic is on?
Yes, please request anybody who has their mic turned on, please mute yourself.
Thank you. So the very first premise that one should start their investment is on the basis of a goal-based planning. So goal-based planning helps determine the optimal plan to fund your present and future. So as the name suggests, it focuses on all the aspects of the financial life and eliminates the retirement only focus that one generally tends to have. So there can be with multiple life stages, there could be multiple goals for investors. So buying a house, buying a car, buying some expensive watch for that matter, or planning for your marriage or your higher studies, or retirement planning for that matter. And it also leaves, and I've also seen my parents when when they are worried to leave an estate for their loved ones. That means me and my brother. So goal-based financial planning is essential for making correct investment decisions, and there's some very simple steps involved. So you decide your investment goals. Uh, think about what are your short-term goals, what are your medium-term goals, what are your long-term goals. Make a budget. How much budget do you have currently? How much budget can you expect to put further to investment for your future? And of course, break down the amount into smaller goals. This will facilitate the preparation of the budget for investment. And the third step is time frame for investment. So once you get to know the value of your goal in the future, you need to decide how much time you have and how much money needs to be invested in the present day in order for you to be able to achieve your future goal. The very important step is to assess your risk appetite. These days there are many online tools available, there are many questionnaires available to assess one's risk appetite, whether you are risk averse, whether you are a risk taker, or are you a risk neutral person for that matter. And finally, it's about preparing an investment plan. So once you have decided on all these things, you determine the amount to be invested each month and the steps necessary to execute your investment planning. So the first thing, or I should say the step 0 before you start investing, is to create an emergency fund. Because it often happens, when we start earning, I would like to pay a special focus to the beginners here, that, or those who have just started earning, it's very important to have an emergency fund in place first. Mutual funds, insurance, loans, everything comes later, but emergency fund is really, really important. Because suppose you decide to take a loan for your house, or you want to buy a car, and you decide to take a personal loan or a home loan or any sort of liability that you may want to convert later to an asset. But imagine, if you don't have a job tomorrow, how are you going to pay the EMIs? Imagine you lose your job one fine day, you're fired or you resign out of pressure. How are you going to pay for your daily essentials? So it is very important to have an emergency fund at least for 6 months, and an ideal period is a year. All right. And once you have an emergency fund in place, the next priority should be having a life insurance in place. Why life insurance? Because and it's more important if you are the sole member or a backbone of your family. Because if there are other members dependent on you, on your salary, on your income, or your other income streams, or you are the one who's the major contributor of the household income, it's very important for you to have a term plan in place. Because in case you're not there tomorrow, there should be some corpus for your family. I know no amount can substitute a human, but money definitely eases the burden that your family members might have in your absence. So minimum cover that I suggest is to have at least 10 times of your annual income, although 20 times corpus is ideal. And often the question that comes up is whether a term plan is better, an endowment plan is better. And for those of you who do not know the basics, term plan is something where you pay your premium for n number of years, and your family or the nominee gets the amount only in the case of death. Whereas endowment plan is one where you pay for n number of years, and you may get the premium that you have paid plus some extra money as return after x number of years. So suppose I'm 28 today and I decide to get a life insurance for, say, a period of 50 more years. Then if I go for a term plan, and if I die tomorrow, God forbid, but if I die tomorrow, my family will get the cover, the entire cover of 1 CR, 2 CR, whatever the cover was, the very next day. But in case I go for an endowment, my family will get the cover either if I die first, or if the maturity period overs first. So whatever is earlier. So if my endowment plan, if I had bought that plan for 50 years, after 50 years, I'll get my cover amount plus some more money. So that all that thing depends on the terms and conditions of the plan that you're buying. As an individual, I would suggest buying a term plan is always better than an endowment plan, simply because of the value of money wala concept. So if today the value of 100 rupee will not be the same as what it will be after 20 years or after 50 years from now. So in that case, if you decide कि अच्छा ठीक है, let me pay say 10,000 rupees every year as for my term plan, and after 50 years I'll get 1 CR. So you might assume कि 50 years के बाद if I'm getting more money than my premium, then that's a plus. No, that's not a plus, because value of money की वजह से you have already lost a lot of money in those 50 years. तो आपने अगर 1 करोड़ का प्रॉमिस किया था कंपनी ने, तो 50 साल के बाद जो आपको 1 करोड़ मिलेगा, that 1 crore will not be worth it in simple terms. And why a life insurance is good? Because you get maximum coverage with the minimum premium. And it's also important to note here that insurance agents do not really get a commission on life insurance, while they do in case of a health insurance or some other kind of insurance. And for same cover, premium for endowment may be 3 to 4 times higher than a term plan. And it's always better to invest than take endowment to generate returns later. And some of the essential add-ons to cover in a life insurance, or the features that one should look for while buying a life insurance, are 4 main things. 1 is the critical illness cover, 2 is the disability cover, 3 is the premium waiver on critical illness, and 4th is the premium waiver on disability. So as the name suggests, in case of critical illness or disability, the company understands that you might not be able to work and might not be able to pay for the premium of your insurance. So they might give you a critical illness or a disability cover. But at the same time, being considerate of the fact that you might not be able to pay for the premium, they'll give you a premium waiver in case of critical illness and disability as well. The next important thing is, it comes to which company to go ahead with. आज की डेट में there are more than 20 companies who are selling insurance. So how do you really decide? Is a Max better? Is an SDFC better? Is an ICI better? So of course you should go with a good brand, and good brand is definitely a subjective term. For me, an SDFC is better than an SBI. For you, it may be the otherwise. But you should also consider 3 types of claim ratios. And this is something not everyone talks about. claim settlement ratio is indeed a very common term that you might know. It basically tells you, out of 100 claims, if a company get 100 claims, then how many of them does the company ultimately settles at the end of the year. So, for example, if I tell you Max has 99% claim settlement ratio, while an SDFC has 97% claim settlement ratio, then the higher, the better. Similarly, an ideal, and yes, of course, an ideal claim settlement ratio is the one with more than 90%. There's another one called amount settlement ratio, and that is, if you claim 100, if you bill in a claim for 100 rupees, then how much of that 100 rupees does the company pay you? It often happens that because of some processing charges or because of some terms and conditions that the company says कि हमने तो बोला था we'll give you 100 rupees only if condition A, B, C are satisfied. But in case condition D is violated, we are not going to give you 100% coverage. We'll give you only X amount of coverage. So us case mein the amount settlement ratio becomes important. So out of 100 rupees, is the company settling the entire 100, or is the company giving you 95 rupees or 90 rupees on the claim of 100 rupees? So this one is also very important and the least discussed of all. The third one is a claim rejection ratio. This, of course, as the name suggests, the lower the better. And one should select companies with this ratio, which is less than 1. The third very important criteria is AUM, that is asset under management. Because the belief is that, it's like a भेड़ बकरी वाला ideology कि जहाँ पे ज़्यादातर लोग जा रहे हैं वहीं पे we should also go and buy that insurance because a trust factor builds in. So higher the better. I would like to mention here कि यहाँ पर I'm not sure how many of you would have come across this meme, but it said कि LIC's AUM is as big as the size of the Pakistan's economy, and this was until a couple of years back. So imagine if LIC has that much amount of AUM, then understand then how much corpus or how much AUM would private companies have, right? And then comes the solvency ratio. We say that minimum 1.5 and higher the better. So what is solvency ratio? Solvency ratio is basically used to measure an enterprise ability to meet its long-term obligations. So it indicates whether a company is financially fit to be able to stand on its obligations or not. So it's basically a measure of its financial health. And I must say here that life insurance should not be mixed with investment. You should only buy term insurance, and that too only if you have financial dependence. Otherwise, you can completely ignore term insurance, life insurance in general. And why I say कि life insurance should not be mixed with investments, because one often invests in life insurance in the name of getting some rebate under Section 80C of the income tax, but one should definitely have a pure term plan separate from all the other investment products in the portfolio. Next comes the health insurance. So
Manmeet, could we just go back to the previous slide for clarifications? Is it better that you answer the questions right away, or should we take them all up later?
Sure, go ahead.
So like the information that you said that one needs to look at these different ratios and asset under management, solvency ratio, where does one find that information about a company? Is it
Right.
something that you would like to take up now or at the end
Yes,
of
we
the
can take
session?
this up now. We can take this up now. I'm sorry, I missed mentioning it here. So generally these days, people simply log into Policy Bazaar and they can compare the plans there. Policy Bazaar lists the claim settlement ratio, but it does not tell you the amount settlement or the claim rejection ratio. So you can look for these things either on the IRDAI website. IRDAI annually releases these ratios for all the private and the government companies who provide insurance. And if you're not able to do that research, if you think the numbers are too difficult for you to look from, you can always call the company directly and ask them that what is your amount settlement ratio and what is your claim rejection ratio. Because I've seen Policy Bazaar does not give you amount settlement and claim rejection, it only gives you claim settlement ratio.
Right. Thanks, Manmeet. That's helpful. Um,
Should we proceed?
yes. There's a couple more questions, but we can take them up later.
Okay. So the next up is health insurance for parents. And I would prioritize having health insurance for parents more than having a health insurance for self. Why? Because again, I would like to connect myself and the others in this place, because once we start earning, we do realize the importance of having a health insurance in place, particularly for parents, because हमारा काम चल जाएगा. We are young और हमारा immunity is better than our parents. Looking at not just the age, but of course, but also the kind of diseases and the kind of illnesses that are coming up every day. So buying health insurance for parents is prior for me as an individual, but of course, you can deprioritize it as per your preference. So when you are buying a health insurance for parents, there are again, so I've just mentioned a couple of bullet points in each of these slides. One must look at the hospitalization expenses, whether the insurance or the plan or the product covers hospitalization expenses or not, whether it gives you a pre and post hospitalization coverage. Say the minimum is 30 for pre-hospitalization and 60 for post, but most of the companies these days, they give you 60 for pre-hospitalization and 180 days for post-hospitalization coverage. So कई बारी ऐसे होता है कि surgery से पहले there are some treatments to be done, or some yeah, or maybe after the surgery there has to be physio, or you have to go for regular checkups or something. So all that gets covered under the pre and the post hospitalization expenses. Then the next up is critical illness cover. It was same as that I mentioned in the term insurance as well, or the life insurance as well. The fourth one is daycare procedures. So there are things, or there are treatments that don't require hospitalization, and they can be wrapped up, say in 6 hours or 8 hours or 2 hours for that matters. For that matter, so all those daycare procedures should ideally be get covered under a good health insurance plan. Another important one is domiciliary hospitalization or domestic hospitalization. You would have seen that during the pandemic, while there was a shortage of beds in the hospitals, people were doing domiciliary hospitalization, and that time most of the insurance companies did not cover domiciliary. But now, after having experienced such a bad time, even the companies are recommending, and they are covering, not recommending, they're covering domiciliary hospitalization, because they understand that domiciliary expenses can go up to in lakhs and more than the entire policy cover amount. So they do cover the domiciliary expense at a certain higher premium. Sometimes they do give a rider, sometimes they cover it as a general feature, so you can look that for yourself. The next up is pre-existing illness or pre-existing diseases, generally called PED. So for example, if your parents have say asthma or BP ka issue hai or diabetic hai, so these all these things get covered under pre-existing diseases. So generally insurance companies ask you to wait for 3 to 4 years. 4 years is standard अगर कुछ बहुत ही critical है. Otherwise it ranges between 1 to 4 years. So they won't cover any hospital claim or claim otherwise if there is an issue related to that PED. तो अगर मैंने बोल दिया कि मुझे हार्ट का इशू है, या मुझे बीपी का इशू है, या मुझे डायबिटीज है, तो उससे रिलेटेड अगर कुछ भी प्रॉब्लम आता है और उस प्रॉब्लम से रिलेटेड कोई क्लेम आता है, देन द कंपनी विल नॉट गिव यू कवरेज फॉर दैट. तो या तो वो आपको बोलेंगे कि ठीक है आप हमारे से पॉलिसी ले लीजिए, बट 3 years इज द वेटिंग टाइम, इज द PED वेटिंग टाइम. यू विल हैव टू पास 3 years, only then we can cover you for that. Or they might give you a rider for that, saying ki you can pay $1,000 extra and we'll cover the same thing from day one. The next up is no capping on room rent. This is a very, very critical criteria, I should say. Capping means that they'll cover, say, room expense is suppose 2,000 a day, and they say that there is a capping of 10%. That means that they'll only cover 10% of 2,000 rupees. उस उतने तक का coverage hospital bill cover they'll do. So it is very important for you to check that the policy should not have any capping on room rent or ICU. And at times it so happens that they offer 1% coverage for room rent and 2% for ICU in most of the cases, especially when the age is more. And so when you're looking for health insurance for parents, ye capping aksar rehta hai, so it's very important for you to be considerate of this fact. The next up is what is a general coverage. 5 to 10 lakhs, I would suggest 5 to 10 lakhs for two parents is sufficient, and one can avoid family floater plans. So when I'm saying family floater plans, there can be a variety of it. Why variety? Because in a family floater plan, such a family floater plan can cover you along with your one or two parents and your sibling as well, if you are the proposer. Or a family floater plan can cover only your parents if you are the proposer. So being a proposer, you'll get a tax benefit, but the coverage will be given only to the other members who are covered in the floater plan. Other than floater plans, you can either go for individual plans or multi-individual plans. So what are individual or multi-individual plans? Say I want to buy a 5 lakh insurance for my parents, and if I buy a family floater plan, the 5 lakhs will be used to cover both my mother and my father. But in case of multi-individual plans, there'll be 5 lakhs separate for my father and 5 lakhs separate for my mother. And in case of individual plans, I'll have to buy an individual 5 lakh policy for my mother and an individual 5 lakh policy for my father. So what's the difference between a multi-individual and individual plan? In case of a multi-individual plan, the premium turns out to be higher than a floater plan, but less than buying two separate individual plans. So that's one thing on the premium. The second thing is, there are some conditions on the premium, on the revised premium or on the renewal premium. So what happens, the premium gets revised with every renewal basis the age bracket that you fall in. So in case, say my father is 55 and my mother is 52, so the premium of the plan depends on the age of the elder member. So the premium of a floater plan or a multi-individual plan will depend on the age of my father, since he is elder to my mother. So in that case, buying a family floater or multi-individual plan is good. And क्योंकि अगर अगले साल, even if their age bracket changes, the premium will not change, because it will again depend on the age bracket of my father. In case of individual plans, there will be, so the premium will be different for my mother and different for my father if they fall in two different age brackets. Then these were some minor differences between these variety of floater plans. So you can choose which one you want to go ahead with. In terms of features, they're generally the same. Then comes going for a corporate plan. Sorry, not going for a corporate plan, but you might have seen that many companies also give you a health insurance plan for your parents, and that is generally a group insurance. So that's generally a part of the CTC, of your CTC. And a point important to be mentioned here is that whenever you leave that company, you can get your corporate plan converted to an individual plan. And this is possible not just for health insurance for parents, but also for your individual health insurance as well. I'm not sure how, if this is possible today, but this was true until a couple of years ago. So I'll have to check this thing again if IRDA allows that or not. And then the third thing is plan for parents separate from a corporate, because at times we feel कि अच्छा ठीक है, company के health insurance में तो parents cover हो ही रहे हैं. Let me buy a health insurance for myself now, or maybe 2 months or 6 months or maybe a year later. और तब तक अगर कुछ क्लेम होगा तो वो ग्रुप इंश्योरेंस जो कंपनी का इंश्योरेंस चल रहा है उससे कवर हो जाएगा. I would suggest that is a big no. Please buy a separate plan for your parents, and it must be separate from your corporate plan. It must be separate from your own individual plan as well. Why? Because suppose if you plan कि मैं आज से 1 साल बाद I'll buy a separate plan for my parents, but अगर 1 साल पहले ही आपने कंपनी छोड़ दी तो, 1 साल पहले ही कंपनी ने आपको निकाल दिया तो, और अगर ये सब कुछ नहीं भी होता है, if there is no exit or if there is no breakup with the company, as you know, group insurances have many limitations. So they won't really tell you what all do we cover, but there'll be a big list of what all do we not cover. So बाद में पछताने के बजाय अच्छा है you spend some extra money and buy a separate plan. There was one thing I forgot to mention when I was talking about family floater plans, and that was if you are the proposer and you are buying a floater plan for your parents, and you must clarify this with the agent that you're talking to or with the company that you're buying insurance from, कि I am only going to be the proposer and I will not be covered in this plan, and this plan is solely for my parents. Why? Because IRDI says that after the age of 25, you must have a separate plan for yourself. You cannot be covered in your family plan or in the insurance policy that you're buying for your parents. तो अगर मान लीजिए अभी you are 24 or 23, in any case you'll have to buy a separate plan for yourself once you cross 25. So it's good to have a separate plan starting से ही. And the last but not the least is the no claim bonus. So what is the no claim bonus? No claim bonus is basically within a specified period of time, अगर आपने कोई भी claim नहीं मिला, the company will give you increased coverage in the form of bonus. तो अगर मान लीजिए मैंने 5 लाख का cover लिया, the company says अगर एक साल में आपका कोई भी claim नहीं आया, I'm going to give you 50% of your cover amount as bonus, or maybe 25%, and I'll give you that added coverage or that additional bonus until 100% of your base amount or 200% of your base amount. तो अगर आज मैंने 5 लाख का पॉलिसी लिया for the next 1 year और मेरा एक साल में कोई क्लेम नहीं आया, and the NCB, it's called no NCB, no claim bonus, the abbreviation, NCB will be 50%. यानी कि next year I'll have a coverage of 5 lakhs plus 2.5 lakhs, 7.5 lakhs for my at the time of my renewal for the second year. And for the third year, अगर फिर से कोई claim नहीं आता है in the second year of my policy, for at the time of renewal for my third year, my coverage amount will be 5 lakhs, my base amount, 2.5 lakhs of my NCB in the first year, and then again 2.5 lakhs NCB in my second year. उसके बाद से वो coverage 10 lakhs ही रहेगा until and unless I buy another policy, to increase the coverage. So an NCB is an NCB offers you increased coverage at the same premium. All right. And one should also be precautious of the fact here that बहुत सारे companies ये करती हैं, and insurance बेचने के समय पर they don't tell you कि in case there is no claim they'll give you the NCB, but in case there is a claim, so there are two possible options. One, the company will not give you NCB, which is the ideal one. The second is they reduce your bonus. तो वो आपके कवरेज में से बोनस अमाउंट लूज कम कर देते हैं, which ideally they should not. So when you are buying an insurance and you're checking with these things, you must check on reduction of NCB in case of a claim. This is very, very, very important. And when it comes to buying health insurance for self, of course, the things that I mentioned earlier, that there should be no room capping, NCB coverage, domiciliary expenses, pre and post hospitalization, those features are common when it comes to buying health insurance for self. But you should also check few more things, such as having a no copay. What is a copay? Copay means the company is also paying and you are also paying. तो अगर हम इतना प्रीमियम दे रहे हैं, and I'm not sure how many of you know, but the premiums are increasing exponentially with each passing day, and of course given situations like the COVID-19 pandemic और जिस तरीके से बीमारियां बढ़ रही हैं, the premiums are crossing the sky. तो and they're also building in this clause of copay where they say कि अगर अच्छा आपका कवरेज आपका जितना भी हो, बी इट 5 लाख, बी इट 10 लाख, आपका जब भी क्लेम आएगा, सपोज 1 लाख का क्लेम आया, तो क्लेम पे अगर 10% का कोपे है, तो दैट मीन्स यू विल हैव टू पे 10% एंड द 90% ऑफ द क्लेम विल बी बोर्न बाय द इंश्योरेंस कंपनी. तो हमें लगता है एज एन इंडिविजुअल कि यार हम इतना प्रीमियम पे कर रहे हैं कि किसी अनफॉर्चुनेट टाइम पे कुछ गड़बड़ हो गई तो द कंपनी विल बी देयर टू बेयर दैट एक्सपेंस. बट अगर ये को पे आ जाता है, देन व्हाट इज द पॉइंट ऑफ मी पेइंग सच हेफ्टी premiums in the first place? So you should be very careful that there is no co-pay. चाहे 1% हो, चाहे 2% हो, चाहे 5% हो, आपको जितना मर्जी कम परसेंटेज वो ऑफर करे कि सर 1% ही तो है, या मैडम 1% कोपे ही तो है, इतना तो चलता है, इतना तो हर कोई कंपनी रखता है, इट्स अ बिग नो. ओके, एंड यू शुड ऑल्सो मेक श्योर दैट यू रीड द TNC, क्योंकि कई बार वो कहते हैं कि नो देर इज नो कोपे, बट दे ऑल्सो there's this condition ki copay is connected to your room rent, or copay is connected to your treatment cost, or XYZ expense in the entire claim. So you should be wary of that as well. And one of the most common questions is ki what is a suitable cover amount for a health insurance if I want to buy one for myself? Then I would say 2 to 2.5 lakh per adult is fine. And if you also have a child, in case you're going for a family plan, then 1 lakh per child is sufficient. But then again, it depends on your emergency fund, your other wealth as well. If you think you are financially sound, कि अगर 2.5 लाख के ऊपर का भी क्लेम आता है, आई हैव इनफ बैलेंस इन माय बैंक कि वो कवर हो जाएगा, then it's fine. But otherwise, you can go for a 5 lakh cover as well in the beginning. Once you've just started earning, 2 to 2.5 or a maximum of 5 lakhs is just fine. Make sure that you have a good network hospital with cashless service in your area. आज के डेट में companies say कि we have a network of say 15,000 plus hospitals, but आपके एरिया में कितने नेटवर्क हॉस्पिटल्स है, you should check that. And also check this with your agent or the company directly कि अगर in times of emergency या if you're not, if network hospital में bed नहीं है तो क्या करेंगे, आप किसी नॉन नेटवर्क हॉस्पिटल में जाते हैं तो your claims are settled on reimbursement basis within a period of 10 to 15 days. But the service that depends on the company that you are dealing with. Otherwise, if you're going to a network hospital for hospitalization, it's just it's the entire claim settlement is done on the basis of a policy card. The next is lifetime renewal, because some companies have a cap on the years of renewal, especially if you have some PED or if you are aging, you have crossed a certain age bar. They'll give you कि हम आपको lifetime renewal नहीं दे सकते. We can only cover you up to the age of 55 or 60. उसके बाद we cannot renew your plans. And do make sure that your medical checkups or annual health checkups are part of your plan. At times they give you a rider for that. I would suggest not to go for a rider, because rider उस case में expensive रहता है as compared to a plan which covers your annual health checkups as part of the base plan. And then of course you can check for maternity benefits if you have just started earning, you plan to marry soon, and marry soon in terms of ki, there may be a year or two before you marry and you're looking for a health insurance for self, then maternity benefits can be something that you can look for ki if it is a default coverage of your plan, or do you think you'll have to buy a separate one later. And yeah, because if you buy one such plan, then you will get a maximum amount coverage within a minimum waiting time. And this is a snippet from the Mint on what is a good coverage for health. And the question was if a 5 lakh policy is enough. And they analyzed that 83% of the claims were less than 50,000 rupees in the past couple of years. So 5 lakh policy is sufficient. That was the agenda of putting the snippet here. The next up is some important points to keep in mind. So, you should be mindful of cover in family floater plans. Ki 5 lakh cover for 4 persons is not equal to 20 lakhs. You should have 5 lakhs per adult and 3 lakhs per child. You should go for a policy that gives you restoration benefit. What is a restoration benefit? So say for example, if you're buying a 5 lakh cover policy and first year may you claim for 3 lakhs, so aapke paas you're left with 2 lakhs in your kitty. So will the company top up the remaining, or will that will it top up or not? So will it restore or not? First question is that. The second question is how many times will it restore? Will it restore indefinitely? आप जितना मर्जी बार आप उसको exhaust कर लो, it will keep restoring, or will it restore only once a policy year, or will it restore only twice a policy year? So you should check that as well. There, and restoration feature is important if you're going for a less cover. So say suppose if you're going for a 2 lakh or a 2.5 lakh cover, अगर आपको लगता है कि यार अभी my pocket is not so flexible and I've just started earning, I have other liabilities as well, but you think insurance is as important, so you might decide to go with a small cover. But in that case, you must check for a restoration benefit. The up next is no cap on room rent and should not be connected to other expenses. This I had mentioned earlier also. Avoid plans that have sub limit for diseases. So at times the terms and conditions of the policy document reads ki, there is no limit for these 10 diseases, but there is a sub limit of say 1 lakh or 1.5 lakhs for these number of diseases. So you must avoid plans that have sub limit for diseases. No copay, as I had mentioned earlier also. And there is one very important feature which says zonal versus pan India coverage. Because many a times the companies decide the premium depending on the tier of city that you're living in. तो कई बारी ऐसे होता है कि when you're living in the metro, your premium is far more as compared to the same policy being sold to someone who is living in a tier 2 or a tier 3 city or maybe in some remote village. तो कई बारी ऐसे होता है कि दे इंडिविजुअल्स प्रेफर गिविंग अ फॉल्स एड्रेस, या मान लीजिए कि परमानेंट एड्रेस अलग है और द पोस्टल एड्रेस इज डिफरेंट, तो वो गलत एड्रेस दे देते हैं ताकि प्रीमियम कम पड़े. Similarly, when you are if you are living separately from your parents, suppose your parents are living somewhere away and you are living in a metro, or maybe they are living in a tier 2 or 3 and you are living in a tier 1, so it's good to buy a zonal policy for your parents, because us case mein aapko premium kam padega, but the cover amount will be same. So there will be no change in other terms and conditions of the coverage, just that the premium amount will be lesser. Because it is said ki metros in tier 1 mein the chances of you falling ill are higher if are higher than a scenario where you're living in a village or a tier 3 city. Maybe that's because of pollution, I don't know. The next is, of course, harm. So there's this reasonable and customary clause which says, so I'll just refer to my notes in here. Suppose your cover was 5 lakhs and you went for a single surgery that costed you 1.5 lakhs in hospital A. And so the company might reject your 1.5 lakhs claim because in the same area, hospital B was also offering the same surgery in 1 lakh. So agar same area mein, let me simplify it. Agar same area mein there are two hospitals offering the same surgery at two different charges, and you went for the hospital that was where the charges or the cost of the surgery or the operation was more than the other one, तो company might reject your claim saying कि जब आपका operation 1 लाख में हो सकता था तो आपने 1.5 लाख में क्यों करवाया, so we are rejecting your claim. So this is the reasonable and customary clause, so you must check for it. Ideally they should not, because in terms of emergency or in the name of network hospital, this is an unjust clause, so you must go and check for this. Then there are top-ups and super top-ups. So what are top-ups and super top-ups? So they are basically standalone policies, and they, so they are your base policy. So your base policy can be covered from a different company, say company X, while your top-up or a super top-up policy, which is a standalone policy, can be from a different policy, from a different company Y or Z. And also, yeah, that's it. And then there is a term called deductible. What is deductible? Deductible is a limit below which your top-ups and super top-ups are not activated. So what does that mean? It means कि suppose your base cover was for 5 lakhs and you also got a top-up for 5 lakhs. So your total coverage is 10 lakhs. And say the deductible amount was also 5 lakhs. So your cover is equal to the deductible here. सपोज द क्लेम इज फॉर 8 लाख रुपीज, तो आप सोचेंगे कि अच्छा 8 लाख का क्लेम आया है, मेरे पास 10 लाख का कवर था, तो 5 लाख मेरे बेस पॉलिसी से कवर हो जाएगा और बाकी का 3 लाख मेरे टॉपअप से कवर हो जाएगा। लेकिन इस केस में क्या होगा, 2 lakhs will not be covered from your top up. Why? Because the deductible was 5 lakhs. इसका मतलब क्या हुआ कि जब तक claim amount at least 5 lakh नहीं होगा, your top up will not get activated. Okay, so in case 10 लाख का कवर था, 5 from the base policy and 5 from the top up policy, और आपका 10 लाख का claim आया, तो 5 lakhs will get covered from your base policy and the other 5 will get covered from your top up because आपने deductible को match कर लिया. Okay. And in case आपका claim amount is less than the deductible, then you have to bear the expenses from your own pocket.
Manmeet, a couple of questions related to health insurance. Would you like to take them now?
Sure.
Okay, so Maushami is asking, if you open your chat window, Manmeet, you will be able to see it. In the case of a zonal plan, what if one of the parents is referred to a hospital in tier 1 by a doctor where they are admitted first in tier 2 or 3 cities? Will one get the insurance benefit in this case? If it's a zonal plan and they are referred to hospitalization in a tier 1 city,
They
by a
will be
doctor.
referred. They will be getting the coverage because the zonal policy was used only to decide the premium. And number two, since the doctor himself referred the patient to go to a hospital in the tier 1 city, the insurance company is bound to give you coverage for that.
Right, right. Maushami, I hope that answers your question. If not, please speak up.
No, it
And
answered my question, Varsha.
thank you.
Sure.
Thanks, Maushami. Thanks, Manmeet. And Vivek is asking, if an individual is staying in a small city and moves to the metro, then is the premium going to increase?
Sorry, come again. If the individual is staying in a metro,
If one moves from a tier 2 city, for example, to a tier 1 city, will the premium that one is required to pay on a health insurance, will that increase?
I think that is subject to your updation of records with the insurance company, because at the time of renewal, they'll ask you to update your records and then pay the premium. And even if your records or you moving from tier 2 to tier 1 city does not affect the premium, but in case your age bracket, if you have moved from one age bracket to the other, that will definitely affect your premium. And these days, just a customary point, ki these days companies do give you pan India coverage in general. So yeah.
All right, let's proceed
Varsha, can
further.
I ask
Yes,
Manmeet something?
yes, please.
Manmeet, in your research, you looked at a lot of policies. If you can share which company you thought was giving a good policy and what are the average rates, that might help our viewers also. If you have
Right.
something like that. Yeah?
I
Thanks,
do
Varsha.
have it.
That will be a great help, actually.
Okay, I can share that from the experience because so I actually bought a policy for my, yeah.
Manmeet and Anjali, may I suggest something? Let's, for clarification related questions, it's better we take them on as and when, but the other questions maybe can be addressed at the end of the session, if that's okay.
I just wanted Manmeet, wherever she has a policy name and cost also, maybe if she includes it, it'll be good. Okay?
Right.
For whichever one you're talking, all right?
I think
If possible, okay? All right.
insurance is done now. I'm not going to name one then. But we'll discuss this towards the end of the conversation then, towards the end of this session then.
Please go
Okay.
ahead, Manmeet.
Yeah. So there are other insurances as well, travel, burglary, loss of job, corporate insurance, and home insurance. I haven't really invested or bought any of these, but you can always look for yourself. And we can connect later for these. Yeah. And then there are mutual funds. Do we need a 5-minute break or should we continue?
I think we can continue, Manmeet.
All right. So, what are mutual funds? To explain in a very simple language, if you want to invest in stocks, you can either trade directly or invest directly, or you can invest in stocks through mutual funds. Mutual funds are like a collective of stocks wherein one company is investing not just in its own or in its or in a single company share, but in a variety of companies shares. So there are two ways to invest in stocks. You can either invest directly or through mutual funds. If you want to invest directly, then in stocks, then that will require time and expertise, and going through the financial analysis and technical analysis, something that most of us don't have time for, given our regular jobs as well. In that case, mutual funds are better. Why? Because it is of course time saving, it is safer, it is a good way to purchase stocks, especially when they're out of pocket. And of course, and when I say that when they are out of pocket, I don't mean to belittle anyone, but I can take my example. So I wanted to invest in some FANG stocks, but I did not have that much money, so I thought, why not mutual funds? And then of course, mutual funds come with the expertise of a fund manager. तो आपका जितना time और effort stock selection में जा रहा था, you can simply put that time to get to select a good mutual fund, and it's done, simple. And then mutual funds, if you ask me what all mutual funds do invest in, is it just stocks? No, mutual funds don't invest only in stocks. They also invest in gold, bonds, and other instruments, depending on what type are they. And there are three general, or a very basic classification of mutual funds is where do they invest on the basis of their security. So there are three types: equity mutual funds, debt mutual funds, and hybrid mutual funds. So as the name suggests, equity funds are those which invest in large cap, mid cap, and small cap. So what are large cap mutual funds? They are those where you have low risk, and it invests in the top 100 companies of the Indian market. Similarly, mid cap is where the risk is of medium level, but the money will be invested in 100, the companies from serial number 101 to say serial number 250. And the third, that is the small cap, that has the highest risk, because the companies that are chosen for investment are from serial number 250 and beyond. So if you sort, or if you order the companies in terms of their market size, that is how the top 100 companies, the next top 250 companies, and the next n number of companies are chosen basis the market cap. And that is why the nomenclature is large cap, mid cap, or small cap. The second one, that is the debt mutual fund, is like an FD. Why? Because it's safe, and therefore the return is also lesser. So as Anjali ma'am had mentioned last week, and as some of you would know, the higher the risk you take, the more return you get. So since debt mutual funds are safe, their return is less as compared to an equity or a hybrid mutual fund. And what are hybrid? Hybrid ones are those which invest both in equity as well as debt. And a small part of hybrid is also called ELSS funds. Many of you must have come across this ELSS. ELSS is equity linked savings schemes. And many of you must have come across this when you are trying to save some of your taxes, and it's covered under the section 80C. So under 80C, you can invest maximum, or you can get a rebate of up to 1.5 lakhs 5 lakhs. And so if you invest your entire 1.5 lakhs corpus in ELSS, you don't need to invest in any other instrument covered under ATC. But an important point to mention here is that ELSS has a lock-in period of 3 years. So that means if you invest today is the 2nd of April 2023, you cannot redeem your money for the next 3 years. This is in case of a lump sum. So, you can invest in mutual funds as SIP or in lump sum. What is a lump sum? If I want to do a straight 50,000 short investment today, तो वो आज से अगले 3 सालों के लिए it's frozen in ELSS. But if I do an SIP, that is a systematic investment plan. If I do an SIP, that means I am SIP of say 1,000 rupees. अगर मैं हर महीने 1,000 रुपए इन्वेस्ट कर रही हूँ in an SIP in a mutual fund, that means my 3-year lock-in period will still be valid, but मैंने आज जो 1,000 रुपया इन्वेस्ट किया that will be frozen until next April 26. जो मैं मई में 1,000 रुपीज का SIP करूंगी that will be frozen until May 2026, then June 2026 and so on and so forth. तो ऐसा मत समझिएगा कि अगर आप 1 साल के लिए SIP कर रहे हैं, that means you are spending 12,000 rupees in this year 23, तो आप 2026 में सारा पैसा निकाल लेंगे, 12,000 निकाल पाएंगे. नो, वो हर महीने के हिसाब से your lock-in period will be calculated. But in case of a lump sum, since it was a one shot investment, तो वो आप जिस दिन भी इन्वेस्ट करते हैं, accordingly 3 years के बाद you can redeem that. And many a times people get confused कि अच्छा जब हम स्टॉक्स में इन्वेस्ट करते हैं हम शेयर प्राइस देखते हैं कि आज टाटा का शेयर 100 रुपए में बिक रहा है या 150 में बिक रहा है. व्हाट अबाउट म्यूचुअल फंड्स में भी क्या हम शेयर प्राइस देखते हैं? किसका शेयर प्राइस देखते हैं? बिकॉज म्यूचुअल फंड्स इन्वेस्ट इन अ वेराइटी ऑफ स्टॉक्स एट द सेम टाइम. तो अगर कोई एक्स म्यूचुअल फंड है, वो टाटा में भी इन्वेस्ट कर रहा होगा, वो आदित्य बिरला में भी कर रहा होगा, वो रिलायंस में भी कर रहा होगा, वो महिंद्रा में भी कर रहा होगा. तो डू आई हैव टू लुक एट द शेयर प्राइसेस ऑफ ऑल दीज stocks that my mutual fund is investing in? The answer is no. You only have to look at the NAV. What is NAV? Anyone?
It's the net
Anyone?
asset value.
Right. So
See, I
net
know
asset
something in finance.
राइट. तो अगर वो जो मेरे 50 स्टॉक्स मेरा म्यूचुअल फंड जिन 50 स्टॉक्स में इन्वेस्ट कर रहा था, उन 50 स्टॉक्स का एक एग्रीगेट एक एवरेज वैल्यू इज कॉल्ड NAV, राइट. तो जैसे स्टॉक्स में शेयर प्राइस होता है, उसी तरीके से म्यूचुअल फंड्स में NAV होता है. एंड व्हाट इज द इंपॉर्टेंस और व्हाट इज द सिग्निफिकेंस ऑफ एन NAV? इट बेसिकली डिसाइड्स हाउ मेनी यूनिट्स ऑफ दैट म्यूचुअल फंड विल यू गेट. So NAV fluctuates because it depends on the performance of that stock or that company or that fund. अगर मेरे 50 स्टॉक्स जिसमें मेरा म्यूचुअल फंड इन्वेस्ट कर रहा था, उन 50 का परफॉर्मेंस ऊपर नीचे हो रहा है, उन 50 का शेयर प्राइस ऊपर नीचे हो रहा है, इट्स ऑब्वियस दैट माय NAV will also fluctuate. Alright? So if you stay invested or you don't sell, for example, mutual fund units मिले आपको 1 साल के लिए, it becomes a long-term investment and you have to pay a long-term capital gain tax on it. And if you sell within a period of 1 year, it becomes a short-term investment and you have to pay a short-term capital gain tax. So until a year ago, I'm not sure abhi current kya STGT and LTGT hai, but until a year ago, it was 15% short-term gains tax and it was a 10% long-term capital gain tax. And your entire corpus is tax-free if you book a profit of less than 1 lakh. And it is also important to mention here that if you sell your debt mutual funds or your profit or your capital gain gets added to your income and you pay tax as per your tax slab in that case. So there is no short-term or long-term. It is accounted as income from other sources and you pay income tax on that. Now the next part is how do you really select a mutual fund? मैंने ये तो बोल दिया कि स्टॉक सिलेक्शन का टाइम नहीं है, एक्सपर्टीज नहीं है, और वो टाइम जो आप स्टॉक सिलेक्शन में लगाओगे वो आप म्यूचुअल फंड सिलेक्ट करने में लगा सकते हो. बट देन हाउ डू यू रियली सिलेक्ट अ गुड म्यूचुअल फंड? So the very first thing that comes to our mind is, go for the company. आप किस कंपनी का म्यूचुअल फंड खरीद रहे हो? The second is historical performance. But that is for indication purpose only. The third is NAV. NAV is dynamic. I agree, but that is very important. क्यों? क्योंकि अगर मान लीजिए आपका NAV कम है, you're comparing two mutual funds, जिसका एक NAV मान लीजिए 50 रुपए है, दूसरे फंड का NAV सपोज 80 रुपए है, तो कौन सा NAV सिलेक्ट करना चाहिए, कम वाला या ज्यादा वाला? डोंट टेक अ कॉल ओनली ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ NAV, because NAV will only decide the number of units that you will get. A more important criteria than NAV is the AUM, asset under management, and for that mutual fund, because जैसे मैंने पहले AUM की बात की थी, imagine there is a company who has an AUM of 1,000 crores and there is another company who has an AUM of 500 crores, exactly the half of the first one. So जब इन द फर्स्ट केस जिस कंपनी का 1,000 crores का AUM था, उसके लिए इट विल बी इजियर टू मैनेज, उसको एक्सपीरियंस होगा टू मैनेज अ लार्जर AUM, इतने इन्वेस्टर्स उसके साथ इतने टाइम से जुड़े हुए हैं, तो अगर आप या आपके जैसे 10 लोग और भी उस कंपनी में इन्वेस्ट करेंगे, उस म्यूचुअल फंड में इन्वेस्ट करेंगे, इट विल नॉट बी अ बिग डील फॉर दैट कंपनी, राइट? बट एट द सेम टाइम जो दूसरा म्यूचुअल फंड है जिसका जिसका AUM 500 करोड़ का था, उनके लिए, क्योंकि उनको एक छोटा कॉर्पस मैनेज करना है, इसलिए उनका मैनेजमेंट कॉस्ट कम होगा या एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन कॉस्ट कम होगा या वो चार्जेस कम होंगे, but that does not guarantee efficiency. So it's like a double-edged sword. You have to maintain a balance in terms of AUM as well. एंड देन बहुत सारे लोग ऐसे होते हैं जो कहते हैं कि आपको एजेंट से या डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर से इंश्योरेंस या म्यूचुअल फंड्स बाय नहीं करने चाहिए, यू शुड रैदर बाय डायरेक्टली फ्रॉम द म्यूचुअल फंड हाउस. बट and both of them have their own pros and cons. One pro or one advantage that I see in investing in mutual funds through distributors or agents is that they save a lot of your time, not just in terms of a mutual fund selection. And remember, a good agent or a good advisor or a good distributor will not just come and tell you कि मैडम ये वाला म्यूचुअल फंड ले लो या सर इसमें इन्वेस्ट कर दो, ये अच्छा चल रहा है. No, that person or a good advisor will always give you the choice to select from A, B, or C. But coming back to my point, they'll not only save you time in terms of selecting a good one, but they'll also monitor your portfolio. एंड they'll suggest you कि इतने टाइम से आप ये वाला कर रहे हो, बट इसका परफॉर्मेंस बहुत अच्छा नहीं लग रहा है या मार्केट सेंटिमेंट बहुत अच्छा नहीं लग रहा है, लेट अस स्विच और लेट अस मूव टू अनदर फंड, और मे बी इट्स टाइम टू स्टेप अप योर इन्वेस्टमेंट. तो जो टाइम हम अपने स्टॉक पोर्टफोलियो में नहीं दे सकते थे या जितना एक्सपर्टीज हमारे पास नहीं था, दैट जॉब इज बीइंग डन बाय एन एक्सपर्ट फॉर अस. सो अगर उसको इट इज सेड कि किसी इन्वेस्टर के 1,000 रुपए पर एक डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर को या एक एडवाइजर को केवल 1 रुपया मिलता है या 10 रुपया मिलता है, then in times like these I believe कि it's worth it in that case. ये कमीशन वाला चीज कब मैटर करता है? जब आप करोड़ों रुपए का इन्वेस्टमेंट एक साथ कर रहे हैं. अगर आप करोड़ रुपया इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं तो उसको लाखों रुपया मिलेगा, एंड देन यू डिसाइड कि क्या उसके सर्विस के बदले में उसको 1 लाख रुपया मिलना, इज दैट कमीशन वर्थ इट और नॉट? बट जब तक आप यू आर प्लेइंग सेफ एंड यू आर प्लेइंग स्मॉल, आई थिंक it's good because it will save you a lot of time and effort. And then there are liquid debt funds, there are index funds. Why I'm just focusing on these two right now because they're more common to invest in, and they also cover a variety of mutual funds under them. Understand this thing कि म्यूचुअल फंड्स को क्लासिफाई करने के बहुत अलग अलग तरीके हो सकते हैं. इट कुड बी ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ मार्केट कैप, इट कुड बी ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ देयर इन्वेस्टमेंट स्टाइल, इन टर्म्स ऑफ देयर ग्रोथ प्रोस्पेक्ट, इन टर्म्स ऑफ टैक्स इन्वेस्टमेंट, इन टर्म्स ऑफ मैनेजमेंट स्टाइल. तो जैसे आपने सुना होगा लार्ज कैप, मिड कैप, स्मॉल कैप, मल्टी कैप, लार्ज एंड मिड कैप, फ्लेक्सी कैप फंड्स. ऑल ऑफ दीज आर 4 types of mutual funds under equity mutual funds. उसी तरीके से there are different types of categorizations that you can have. So liquid debt funds and index funds are something that I feel they cover most of the types of funds. So as the name suggests, liquid debt funds are good for parking money. They are less risky and so they generate less returns. and the advantage, you can get an advantage of overpriced markets. मार्केट्स में मान लीजिए आपको कोई एक फंड, लिक्विड डेट फंड अगर आपको 100 रुपए में मिल रहा है, कोई और फंड आपको 100 रुपए में मिल रहा है, बट द सेम फंड इफ अवेलेबल अंडर लिक्विड डेट फंड आप उसको डिस्काउंट पे बाय कर सकते हैं. If you come to index funds, तो index funds can be of two types. But what are index funds? जो आपके market indices में invest करते हैं. तो मान लीजिए आपको निफ्टी में इन्वेस्ट करना है या सेंसेक्स में इन्वेस्ट करना है, तो वो इंडेक्स फंड कहलाएंगे, राइट? तो वो आप बोलेंगे कि अच्छा, अगर मार्केट ट्रीट्स ऑल माय निफ्टी 50 कंपनीज एज द सेम, तो यानी कि अगर मेरे 50 रुपए हैं, तो यानी कि वो हर 50 कंपनी में मेरा 1-1 रुपया इन्वेस्ट करेगा. That is something which is called equal weighted, so there the concept of value investing comes in. बट अगर आप चाहते हैं कि आप मार्केट कैप के हिसाब से उसमें इन्वेस्ट करें, सो सपोज देयर आर 50 कंपनीज, जिसमें से द फर्स्ट कंपनी, जो सपोज द फर्स्ट 5 कंपनीज आर सम रियली बिग शॉट्स इन द मार्केट, उनका मार्केट कैपिटलाइजेशन बहुत ज्यादा है, एंड सो यू थिंक कि maximum of my 50 rupees should go in the top 5 companies, and a proportionate amount should be invested in the other 45 companies, then that is called a market capitalization weighted index fund. तो उसके भी कुछ advantages होते हैं. For example, you will see growth investment there. You will see the performance is proportional to the weight in their in the index. तो अगर मान लीजिए टाटा in your market capital weighted index fund, अगर Tata is occupying say 20% of all the stocks, Mahindra is occupying 15% of all the stocks, and so on and so forth, तो आपका जो performance होगा, आपके fund का performance as a whole will also be proportional to the weightage of those particular stocks in that index. The third is कि जो आपको इससे जो returns मिलेंगे वो constant होंगे when the market is overvalued, and but there is also concentration risk. क्योंकि आप मार्केट कैप के हिसाब से यू आर इन्वेस्टिंग, अगर रिलायंस is dominating, तो आपका 50% or more than 50%, or say majority of your investment of your corpus will be concentrated in one single security in the mutual fund. So that is something that you should take a call on. The next up is investing in government securities. Government securities में it's not that mutual funds government के नहीं होते हैं, सिर्फ private होते हैं. It's not that, but then there are many people who say कि यार हमें stocks में invest नहीं करना, हमें mutual funds में invest नहीं करना, we want to play it safe. तो मुझे FD करानी है या मुझे RD करानी है. Now, as a youngster, my very first advice is please, n number of pleases, do not invest in FDs. Especially when you are young, when you can afford some amount of risk. Please do not invest in FDs or RDs, because FDs or RDs cannot beat inflation any given day. There was a time when it does. हमारे जब माता पिता या हमारे दादा दादी जब करते थे FDs में इन्वेस्ट, बिकॉज तब इन्फ्लेशन बहुत कम होती थी और FDs का ROI ज्यादा होता था. बट आज की डेट में FDs cannot beat inflation. The next up is government bonds. तो government bonds, treasury bills, national saving certificate, सुकन्या, NPS, PPF, EPF, PPF, ये बहुत सारे कुछ और government securities हैं. I'm sorry, I'll just rule out the ones that I'm not going to talk about right now. I'll not cover NSE, I'll not cover Sukanya, because I would like to believe that most of you know about it. If not, we can take them up later, one-on-one. And also a lot of material is available on Google. You can anytime go and check that for yourself. NPS versus PPF, they are often NPS, PPF, and EPF and PPF. These four things are, these three things are often seen as retirement options. तो काफी सारे लोग इनमें तब इन्वेस्ट करते हैं जब उनका वो they've crossed 30s और 40s and they think कि रिटायरमेंट के लिए थोड़ा कॉर्पस जोड़ना शुरू करते हैं, काफी लेट हो गया. But and you know, within our closed groups we have had discussions on NPS versus PPF, so I'll skip that part for now. Talking about government bonds and treasury bills. So government bonds kya hai? It's simple. You know, the central government rolls out bonds and bills जब government को पैसा चाहिए होता है to invest in a multitude of other projects. हाईवेज बनाने हैं, हॉस्पिटल्स बनाने हैं, कैपिटल सेटअप करना है, गवर्नमेंट नीड्स मनी. हमारे टैक्स द्वारा जनरेटेड इनकम शायद पूरा नहीं हुआ उनके लिए टू बी एबल टू इन्वेस्ट इन कैपेक्स एज वेल. So they offer bonds in the market and they collect money from us and invest in other projects. So that is how government bonds and T-bills come into the picture. उसके बाद होता है कि यू नो हाउ डू गवर्नमेंट बॉन्ड्स वर्क. द आइडिया इज सिंपल कि यू नो आपने जब ये पैसा सरकार को दिया, द गवर्नमेंट इशूज यू अ कूपन और फिक्स्ड इंटरेस्ट अमाउंट एट रेगुलर इंटरवल्स एंड बॉन्ड्स आर फिक्स्ड इनकम एसेट्स एज अ रिजल्ट, बिकॉज आपका कूपन मनी सेट हो गया है. And your initial investment, जिसको you know in layman terms you call it principal, जो आपका principal होगा वो आपको maturity पर आपको वापस कर दिया जाता है at a यस आपको मेच्योरिटी पर वापस कर दिया जाता है एट अ प्री डिसाइडेड टर्म कि वो 5 साल का बॉन्ड है या 10 साल का बॉन्ड है एंड सो ऑन एंड सो फोर्थ. And you can invest in bonds by you know through two ways. One is you put money in gilt mutual funds, and the other is you go and open up a bank trading demat account. तो आप वैसे भी गवर्नमेंट बॉन्ड्स खरीद सकते हैं. Then comes the treasury bills. So treasury bills are issued when the government needs money for a very short term. तो इसीलिए they are said कि they're more liquid than government bonds. And interest, जो treasury bills पे जो interest होता है, that is often governed by the market forces. कितना demand supply है उस basis पे the rate is decided. And generally you know the maximum duration of treasury bills is 364 days and not 365, because treasury bills are said to be a money market instrument. And a money market instrument is one जो आपका एक साल के अंदर इन्वेस्टमेंट्स होते हैं या एक साल के अंडर वाले मेच्योरिटी वाले प्रोडक्ट्स होते हैं. इसलिए द जनरल maximum maturity possible of treasury bills is of 364 days. Otherwise, there are bills available in the market for 91 days and 182 days as well. So it was in 1997, if I'm not wrong. Us time pe the government also issued 14-day treasury bills. So they are generally issued by the central government, but they are auctioned by the RBI. One must know that. And isko individuals bhi they can purchase it. Financial institutions or trusts can also go and buy treasury bills. And they're also very actively traded in the secondary market. Okay, and then comes now I would like to talk about EPF versus PPF. How many of you know what is EPF and what is PPF? Anyone?
I only know the full form.
Yeah, please go ahead.
EPF is Employee Provident Fund and PPF is Public Provident Fund.
Right. तो क्या होता है कि and for those of you who don't know, NPS is National Pension Scheme. So when I mentioned कि NPS, EPF and PPF are seen as retirement options, often the question is कि NPS में डालें या PPF में डालें या EPF में डालें. So I leave NPS for the time being. And we can touch on it towards the end. And I would like to focus on EPF and PPF. So as Maushami mentioned, EPF is Employee Provident Fund. तो क्या होता है? Organizations that are, so there are certain eligibility conditions for you to be an investor or for you to invest in EPF. And what are those conditions? If you are working in if you're working in a private company and that organization is registered under the Provident Fund Act and that organization has at least 20 employees, तो वो कंपनी का जो मालिक होगा वो सबको EPF के बेनिफिट्स दे सकता है। देख, तो ईपीएफ में क्या होता है, अ पार्ट ऑफ योर इनकम is invested in EPF and your employer pays an equal or a matching amount of your investment to your EPF account. So what happens is, and why EPF is a good or a better investment venue than NPS or a PPF, because EPF comes with a disciplined investment. Why I'm calling it disciplined investment? Because EPF का जो component आपके इनकम से जाता है वो हर महीने आपके इनकम से कट कर आपके अकाउंट में जाता है, एंड यू गेट द बैलेंस मनी क्रेडिटेड टू योर अकाउंट। तो मान लीजिए अगर आपका सैलरी सपोज 20,000 अ मंथ है, and your employer deducts a certain part of your salary, suppose 2,000 rupees, वो 2,000 पे आपकी ईपीएफ में डालता है तो आपको 18,000 रुपए मिलता है, and employer puts a matching amount of the investment amount to your account. तो अगर आपके इनकम से 2,000 रुपए आपके ईपीएफ अकाउंट में गया तो आपका एम्प्लॉयर भी 2,000 रुपए अपनी तरफ से आपकी ईपीएफ अकाउंट में डालेगा, यानी कि आपका ईपीएफ का टोटल इन्वेस्टमेंट कितना हुआ, 4,000 रुपए हुआ। तो जनरली ये जो एम्प्लॉयर्स कंट्रीब्यूशन टू ईपीएफ रहता है, दैट इज ऑल्सो सीन एज अ पार्ट ऑफ योर सीटीसी। तो कई बार ऐसे होता है कि कंपनीज कम फॉर रिक्रूटमेंट, दे से आपका सीटीसी 10 लाख है, एंड द इन हैंड पार्ट यू गेट इज सपोज 5 और 6 लाख। तो आप सोचते कह रहे यार बाकी 4 लाख कहाँ गया। तो उस केस में क्या होता है, वो आपका इंश्योरेंस काटते हैं, वो आपका मेडिक्लेम काटते हैं, वो आपका ईपीएफ भी काटते हैं। सो ईपीएफ इज वन स्मॉल कंपोनेंट ऑफ द वेरिएबल पे ऑफ योर सीटीसी। तो अगर आप कहते हैं कि आपका इन हैंड सैलरी इज 20,000, तो द एम्प्लॉयर विल से आपका सैलरी 20,000 नहीं है, आपका सैलरी 22,000 है। क्यों? क्योंकि आपका एम्प्लॉयर आपके लिए 2,000 रुपए अपनी तरफ से इन्वेस्ट कर रहा है, राइट। सो क्योंकि आप इसमें हर महीने पैसा आपका जुड़ता जाता है, दैट इज वाई आई कॉल इट डिसिप्लिन इन्वेस्टिंग। एंड व्हाट ऑल्सो हैपेंस इज, since that money goes directly to your EPF account, you don't get it in your hand or in your bank, you don't really get to spend it. So that amount gets accumulated till you retire or until you decide to withdraw. We'll talk about that later. So that money is your money, but it's not your money as well, if you get if you're getting my point. तो इसके 3 मेन बेनिफिट्स होते हैं टू ईपीएफ में इन्वेस्ट करने के। वन इज ऑफ कोर्स डिसिप्लिन इन्वेस्टिंग, एज आई मेंशन्ड। द सेकंड इज द टैक्स बेनिफिट, क्योंकि आप एटीसी के अंडर ईपीएफ का भी बेनिफिट ले सकते हैं, जस्ट लाइक ईएलएसएस, म्यूचुअल फंड एंड एफडीज एंड बॉन्ड्स एंड एनएससीज। तो आपका जितना भी पीएफ का इन्वेस्टमेंट होगा वो आपका सारा एटीसी के अंडर यू कैन क्लेम दैट, and this will include not only the part that is going from your salary, but it will also include your employer's contribution as well. तो आप उसमें 2,000 के बजाय आप उसमें 4,000 का वो डाल सकते हैं, अमाउंट डाल सकते हैं। And the third is the final amount that you will get once you withdraw is also tax free. तो ये एक तरीके से रिस्क फ्री एंड गारंटीड रिटर्न्स वाला इंस्ट्रूमेंट है। And I would like to say that EPF is any given day better than FD. Okay. And कई बारी ऐसे होता है कि many people say कि some people say कि उनका X% अमाउंट कटा, some people से उनका 1,000 रुपया EPF कटा, कुछ कहते हैं उनका 1,500 EPF कटा, they'll come up with varying amounts. तो ये how is that EPF amount decided, the EPF contribution or the percentage deduction for EPF decided? So it is EPF is basically 12% of your basic salary which goes to EPF, and your employer will also pay the same amount. तो अगर आप 1,000 रुपए, if your say if your salary is 100 rupees, तो 12% यानी कि 12 रुपए आपके जेब से जाएगा, जेब के आने से पहले ही चला जाएगा, और 12 रुपए आपका एम्प्लॉयर भी उसमें डालेगा। बट व्हाट डू यू डू इन केस you are not working with a private company or you are not employed in the first place, या मान लीजिए आप प्राइवेट कंपनी के साथ काम तो कर रहे हैं लेकिन 20 से ज्यादा लोग नहीं हैं, या वो कंपनी इट इज नॉट रजिस्टर्ड अंडर द प्रोविडेंट फंड एक्ट, तो उस केस में क्या करेंगे? That and not being eligible for EPF does not mean that you cannot or you should not be eligible for a provident fund, or you should not have a retirement corpus for yourself. So us case mein PPF comes into the picture. So any national, you, a minor, a major, or your parents or grandparents, anyone can hold a PPF account. You can simply go to a post office or a bank, any nationalized bank, and whether government or private doesn't matter, and आप वहाँ जाके एक PPF account खुलवा सकते हैं. The only thing is that you shouldn't be an NRI. PPF खुलवाने के लिए you have to be an Indian resident. So आप वहाँ जाके you can get a PPF account for yourself, and since PPF is not so nuanced and it doesn't have so many restrictions or limitations like EPF, इसलिए PPF का rate of interest जो है या जो rate of return आपको मिलेगा that will be lesser than EPF. So when EPF stands somewhere between 8.5%, PPF lies somewhere between 7.1% or so. These were the rates until a year back. I haven't checked for the latest stats. I'm sorry for that. इसके अलावा PPF में while you are investing, the minimum investment that you can make, that you have to make is 500 rupees a year, and the maximum is 1.5 lakhs. Again, since it gets covered under ATC, so the maximum you can make is 1.5 lakhs. Now, when it comes to withdrawal, there is a 15-year lock-in period. I'm referring to my notes. There is a 15-year lock-in period when it comes to PPF. So you must use this only if it is, only if you're doing it for a really, really long period of time, या आपके कुछ बहुत ही long term goals है. मान लीजिए you are a minor right now and इसके बाद आपको 10-15 साल और शादी नहीं करनी है, और suppose you've just started your family or you've just married and you are going to start your family, तो आपको लगता है you want to build some corpus for your children's education or higher education, या उनके marriage के लिए, और retirement is the prime goal of course. So you can reserve PPF for that, and after 15 years you can extend this lock-in period for 5 years n number of times. तो once your 15 years are done, आप चाहे तो विड्रॉ कर सकते हैं, नहीं तो अगले 5 साल के लिए फिर से लॉक करवा सकते हैं. So, but you will not have that flexibility कि यार 5 साल के लिए नहीं, I just want to lock it for another 2 years or 3 years. So PPF does not give you that flexibility. But in case of an emergency withdrawal, there will be there are some restrictions. So you can withdraw it, but there are some restrictions, and that is the year that you invest in. So for example, if I invest today, this is 2nd of April 2023, तो जो हमारा 15 साल का लॉक इन पीरियड है ना, वो आज से शुरू नहीं होगा. इट विल बी काउंटेड फ्रॉम द नेक्स्ट फाइनेंशियल ईयर. सो 1st of April 2024 से मेरा पहला साल ऑफ द लॉक इन पीरियड विल बी काउंटेड. बट इट डजंट मीन कि आपको ये इतने टाइम का इंटरेस्ट नहीं मिलेगा. आपको इंटरेस्ट मिलता जाएगा फ्रॉम 2nd of April 2023 to 31st of March 24. You will get the interest, but आपका लॉक इन पीरियड जो शुरू होगा that will start from 1st of April 24. एक चीज तो ये है. तो जब आप इस तरीके से 15 years का लॉक इन पीरियड कैलकुलेट करते हैं, so you can partially withdraw your PPF wala corpus only after the 3rd year and after the 6th year, and you can withdraw that only in the form of a loan towards your PPF account, and that too at a very high rate of interest. तो आपको जो rate पड़ेगा that will be your PPF's rate of interest plus 2%. So if PPF में you were getting a 7.1% rate of return, the rate of interest that you will have to pay will be 7.1 plus 2, यानी कि 9.1% पे you will have to deposit that money back to your PPF. And it is only after the 7th year that you can partially withdraw your PPF money. लेकिन जो भी अगर आपको पूरा पैसा विड्रॉ करना है, दैट कैन हैपन ओनली आफ्टर 15 years और वंस यू रिटायर. और जो पार्शियल विड्रॉल होता है उसके लिए भी देयर आर मेनी लिमिटेशंस एंड फैक्टर्स. लेट्स नॉट get into that for the time being. And ideally, one should invest in PPF. One should not invest more than 5 to 10% of your, the corpus that you have for parking your money in PPF. And you should invest in it only if you really want to have some kind of, government wala risk-free flavor to it. Otherwise, I don't see investing or locking your money for 15 years makes sense. But it's up to an individual. And EPF is any given day. So the returns in a nutshell is that the returns from EPF are better than PPF. EPF में liquidity का भी इतना वो नहीं होता, issue नहीं होता जो कि PPF में है. Plus the returns are better than PPF. EPF will give you 8.5. PPF is giving you 7%. And PPF is definitely far better than FDs, क्योंकि FD में आपको मुश्किल से 5.5 या 6% मिलता है. तो अगर आपको गवर्नमेंट सिक्योरिटीज में इन्वेस्ट करना ही है तो आई वुड से इन्वेस्ट इन EPF और PPF rather than FD or an RD or a government bond. And there is one more thing that I would like to take you through, and that is to avoid market volatility. It was just a couple of days back, someone had asked me if it's a good time to invest in corporate bonds and FDs and T-bills right now, because this time pe the market is quite volatile. So I would like to mention here that FDs we have already discussed, treasury bills we have discussed. Corporate bonds में ऐसा होता है कि bonds and FDs are slightly safer than equity. So one must before investing in corporate FDs, one must be take notes of couple of points कि उसमें lock-in period कितना है, minimum deposit कितना है, financial performance कैसी है उस company की, and of course some basic and general computations and comparisons with normal FDs कि उसका इंटरेस्ट रेट कितना है, मेच्योरिटी पर आपको कितना अमाउंट मिलेगा, उस कंपनी का क्रेडिट रेटिंग अच्छा है कि नहीं है, सो ऑन एंड सो फोर्थ. एंड इफ यू स्टिल थिंक कि कॉर्पोरेट एफडीज का एक्सपोजर ज्यादा होता है या उसमें रिस्क ज्यादा होता है एज कम्पेयर टू गवर्नमेंट एफडीज, या अगर एफडीज में इन्वेस्ट करना ही है तो गवर्नमेंट एफडीज में करो, वाई गो फॉर अ कॉर्पोरेट एफडी. तो आई वुड से कि यू शुड इन्वेस्ट इन अ गवर्नमेंट एफडी ओनली इफ you think it will beat inflation. On the which I don't think so, but on the contrary, corporate FDs offer you a far more higher return as compared to a general FD, and they also cover inflation. So go for a corporate FD if you really want to invest in an FD. The next is corporate bonds. Their lock-in period varies, their minimum investment varies. They have a high lock-in period, and the rate of returns generally lies somewhere around 12%. So you can check for that. Gold में अक्सर ये क्वेश्चन पूछा जाता है कि returns, how do you look at the returns from equity vis-a-vis gold, and is it good to invest in mutual funds that invest in gold, or maybe take gold bonds rather than gold itself? So I would say that returns from equity are much higher than returns from gold. One, simply because, and also because, equity, investing in equity is much more liquid experience as compared to investing in gold. Secondly, sovereign gold bonds are good because they offer you 2.5%, more than 2.5%, and they are above market appreciation. And any form of investment in gold actually is an individual's choice, so I wouldn't really comment on that. And whether one should invest in indices, I think yes, because it's safe and they do offer good returns. And please be mindful of the fact that this entire talk or this entire session was simply on the premise, and I should have mentioned this earlier, it's simply on the premise that you are in for a long-term investment and you're not in for a trade. So that's all from my end. We can take questions.
Thank you so much, Manmeet. That was quite a comprehensive coverage of the various instruments that one can avail of. Uh, it does leave a lot of questions in one's mind, and we will keep pestering you on and off. But as of now, we have a few in the chat box. There is one which is related to life insurance, another one on EPF, and a third one on equity mutual fund. So, would you like to look at them, or should I read it out?
Sure, you can take some of them randomly and
Okay,
read
so we
out
start
some.
with insurance in the same flow that you had taken us through. Vivek is asking, should we have a single life insurance coverage or break it with different companies? Say one life insurance from X company for 50 lakhs and another from Y company for another 50 lakhs or another amount.
I would say when you are starting, it's good to have one because आप कम amount में you can go for a maximum life coverage. But then it also, it depends on your lifestyle inflation and the number of dependents and उनके requirements that you might like to buy more insurance plans from more or from different companies to be able to cover. Generally, ऐसा देखा गया है, and I'm talking this from the perspective of people of my age who have just started earning, कि हम एक बड़े corpus का cover day one से ले लेते हैं because at our age the premiums are very less. So imagine a friend of mine recently bought a 2 CR term plan in less than 18,000 per year. सो अगर आपने 2 CR तक का कवरेज पहले से ही ले लिया है तो मुझे नहीं लगता कि देयर इज अ स्कोप फॉर बाइंग मोर. बट अगर आपने थोड़ा कम कवरेज लिया है डे वन पर, थिंकिंग कि अभी और भी चीजें हैं टू लुक आफ्टर एंड अभी पॉकेट इज नॉट सो फ्रेंडली, you can always start with less and then gradually increase the coverage.
Right. I think that answers the question well. Vivek, please let us know if you need any further clarification. Moshami is asking, can we withdraw EPF amount in case of family emergency or before retirement?
EPF amount. So EPF amount can be withdrawn in two cases. One is if if you're leaving the organization and after you resign, you can withdraw your entire money from your EPF account after 2 months. So अगर आप आज resign करते हैं, आज से 2 महीने बाद you can withdraw the entire amount. And if you have served less than 5 years in that company, you will have to pay tax. अगर आपने 5 सालों से ज़्यादा बिताया है, you will not have to pay any tax. And the second case of withdrawal is at the time of your retirement. So these two cases only.
So before retirement, if there is a family emergency, that cannot be withdrawn.
No.
Can I please add one thing over here?
Yes, please.
Who is this, please?
Vivek this side.
Vivek. Yes, Vivek.
We can withdraw money from EPF. There are certain options available on the website. Say, for example, if you are buying a house, you can do that. In case there is some health emergency in your home, you can do that. There were options. I withdraw once my this EPF for
EPF or
the
PPF,
purchase of
Vivek?
house. Sorry?
Are you talking about EPF or PPF?
EPF.
Okay, the Employee Provident Fund.
Vivek sir, how long ago was this? I'm not sure if the rules have been revised in the last 1 year or so.
I did that in 2017, 18 rather.
Okay. I'm sorry, in that case, I am not aware if withdrawal can be done in times of such emergencies. Then I'm very sorry to
Also,
mislead you with this
it
question.
might be different for EPF and PPF, I feel. And I don't know, Vivek, did you say EPF or PPF?
I
Hi,
said
Harsha, this is
PPF.
Radhika. I have also withdrawn, there are specific, like Vivek mentioned, there are specific purposes allowed. Children's education, health, home loan. So I have also withdrawn from for a specific purpose. There is an application you have to justify the amount and the purpose, and then it can be accepted or rejected.
All right, that's great.
I was aware of these clauses only for PPF. I did not know about these clauses also existed in case of EPF.
That's all right. Not a problem, Manmeet. Things, we have people with all kinds of experience here and we keep learning from each other. Amita is asking, how do you select a good equity mutual fund? What indicators do you look at other than 1 year, 3 year, 5 year return?
So you look at their past performance for as an indication. You look at their NAV. You look at their unka further distribution to uh, stocks कि वो कौन से stocks में invest कर रहे हैं. If you really want to go in that detail, you can go and have a look. उनका कितना exposure है. So there are companies which have 98% equity, other in cash or in liquid. So these are some factors.
Right. And where can you find that information, Manmeet?
They are available on their company website, and also if you do have a financial advisor, that person will be the best to tell you these things.
Okay, we are going to approach you with more questions. Preeti is asking, what is your advice about using an investment platform like Grow, etc.?
So I do not use Grow or Money Control or such platforms for these investments uh, because there are reasons behind it. One, I feel that these platforms have come up quite recently, and they're not, very well. They're not very much user friendly because one is they charge too much in terms of administrative or processing or portal charges जो कि ये लोग बताते नहीं हैं हमको at least in terms of when there is a distributor and agent involved आपको पता होता है कि इसको इतना commission जा रहा है but in apps के terms में they never tell you how much are they charging from you in the hindsight. The second one is कि at many a times, so a couple of my friends approached me for this. One of them had invested through Grow, and that friend of mine wanted to stop or pause her SIP, and she wasn't able to find that option in the app. And she asked me if I can help her with it. I told her कि ठीक है, let's screen share and let's to see क्या क्या options है, but there was no option for this. She tried calling the customer care, but of no use. She tried calling the company, but उन्होंने बोला कि मैम हम app वाले जो platforms है, we cannot take their we cannot address their grievances. If you want to stop it, then you'll have to visit our office, visit our branch, fill in a form, and only then can we help you. But she was out of town that time and she needed that money urgently, so she couldn't really help it. So in my experience, little bit experience, I don't really sell these apps. I don't promote them.
Right.
So then how do you invest? Like what advice would you give?
I invest directly.
What do you mean by directly?
Doesn't use the platform.
I don't.
She picks up MFs and such other instruments, Preeti.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Thanks. Awesome.
Kollul is sharing information here that even in COVID, the government had allowed EPF withdrawal up to 75%. But he says it's better not to withdraw from EPF or PPF if it's not an emergency. Vivek agrees with him, and Kollul further says mutual funds are better to go with direct plans in place of the regular plans. Kollul, why don't you come on? Why don't you turn on your audio video and share what you would like to?
Hello. Actually, I was traveling.
Okay.
For mutual funds, there are direct plans where you go to the mutual fund sites and you invest through them. And the regular plans where bank representative will come to you and they will pitch some plans कि ये वाला ले लो, and that way you can invest to banks also. But there you will be paying some commission to the bank. So some of the time, in a longer term, even if it's 1%, in a compounding effect, it actually it's a lot of amount. Means if 10 years
Right.
compound, even 1% is there, so 10% you're already losing from there. So it's better with a direct plan, but for that you have to do some research. So you have to invest some time
Right.
because banks will sell you those plans where they get the highest commission most of the time. They will not think ki, what is your risk capacity, what is your goal. First thing they will think ki usko kya milega. So some of the time you have to take it with a pinch of salt. Suppose I am a banker, I said कि मैम आप ये flexi वाला cap वाला ले लो. So always keep in mind कि हो सकता है कि this guy is getting more commission in this plan and that's why he is pitching me. So we have to take it with pinch of salt. We have to do our own study some of the time.
I would
Yeah.
like to add something here. What you mentioned, Kalol sir, is absolutely right. But इसमें एक चीज ये भी होती है कि when a banking correspondent is selling us some particular mutual fund or product or whatever, तो उनको उस पे डायरेक्ट कमीशन नहीं मिलेगा बिकॉज सो सी उनका दे हैव देयर ओन केपीआईज कि आपने इतना एडिशनल मार्केटिंग करके इतने एडिशनल प्रोडक्ट्स बेच दिए तो इसके बेसिस पे यू विल गेट इतना परसेंट एक्स्ट्रा फॉर दैट मंथ और वट एवर तो उसको हमारे पैसे से डायरेक्ट कमीशन नहीं जाएगा हमारे पैसे से डायरेक्ट बेनिफिट होगा बैंक को क्योंकि वो बैंक सपोज आई गो टू एसबीआई तो एसबीआई मेरे को अपना कोई नया प्रोडक्ट बेचेगा इंश्योरेंस ले लो एसबीआई का फलाना म्यूचुअल फंड ले लो एसबीआई का फलाना बॉन्ड ले लो तो वो उसको एसबीआई को डायरेक्ट फायदा होगा क्यों और ऑल्सो बिकॉज क्योंकि वो किसी और चैनल किसी और डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर या किसी और ऐप के थ्रू राउट ना होके वो सीधा बैंक के थ्रू जा रहा है तो वो बैंक की इनकम में काउंट होगा एट द सेम टाइम I was about to say something which I forgot.
I think you were going to say about how the agents make money on mutual funds.
Yes. So तो वहाँ पे जो एजेंट्स होंगे या डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर्स होंगे दे विल मेक अ डायरेक्ट कमीशन फ्रॉम योर मनी भी क्यों नॉट डायरेक्टली फ्रॉम योर मनी बट इनडायरेक्टली सपोज आपने SIP किया 1,000 रुपए पर मंथ एंड आपके 1,000 ऐसा नहीं है कि आपके 1,000 रुपए में से 1 रुपया उसको जाएगा और बाकी 999 इन्वेस्ट होंगे वो पर्सन जिस भी कंपनी के साथ अफिलिएटेड होगा उसको वहां से अपना इनकम आ रहा होगा तो वो उस कंपनी का मैनेजमेंट कॉस्ट में या एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव कॉस्ट में एडजस्ट होगा
Right.
Because
all
at the end
all
of
is
the day,
right.
you see at the end of the value chain, आपने जिस म्यूचुअल फंड में इन्वेस्ट किया, सपोज आपने SBI म्यूचुअल फंड में इन्वेस्ट किया, तो SBI म्यूचुअल फंड is giving some money to suppose grow or is giving some money to is giving some money to money control or whatever XYZ platform कि अच्छा ठीक है क्योंकि आपके प्लेटफॉर्म से हमारे पास 10 कस्टमर आए तो ये लीजिए आपका पैसा तो फिर वो ग्रो क्या करेगा उसको जो 10 रुपया मिला SBI से उसने उस 10 रुपए में से कुछ पैसा अपने लोगों को दे दिया द सो कॉल्ड एजेंट जिन्होंने अल्टीमेटली द एंड कंज्यूमर को जिसको उन्होंने अप्रोच किया था so that is how the chain functions.
Got your point.
Manmeet,
My point is that there is a conflict of interest when a banker is selling you a mutual fund, even though that guy is not getting, but bank has a target. Bank says कि ये 5 प्रोडक्ट है, इसी 5 प्रोडक्ट को आपको कस्टमर को बताना है. 6 प्रोडक्ट जो
नहीं
मे बी अ
बताओगे।
बेटर फॉर दैट इंडिविजुअल उसको मत बताओ. तो
Right.
the guy will not get anything, but he will be
Manmeet,
restricted by his.
you are getting this information from a banker itself.
Yes.
No, no, no.
Yes.
It's
It
a
is
very
coming from the
common thing.
horse's mouth.
I'm just saying कि
I just want to ask one thing. What about a platform like ICICI Direct?
हाँ,
Should
that's
one
a mutual
be
fund
worried
platform. It
that?
will be a direct plan. Manmeet can comment on that.
Yeah.
ICCI Direct,
Yes,
it's
as
a
you said,
mutual
it's
fund
a
platform.
right. So that will be considered as a direct plan rather than a regular one. And
Right.
at times you'll also come across, I should have considered this in the during the talk. You'll also come across mutual funds selling their, not selling but promoting their NFOs, न्यू फंड ऑफर. सो वो बोलेंगे कि अच्छा SBI का जो टैक्स सेवर ऑलरेडी चल रहा है, सपोज ELSS कोई भी चल रहा है, वो लेने के बजाय आप इसका NFO आया है, व्हाई डोंट यू इन्वेस्ट इन दी NFO. So you should be again, that is again like a double edged sword, because क्या होता है कि most of the companies, so there is also this SBI regulation, SEBI regulation that comes in, कि अगर आपका कंपनी का कॉर्पस एक्स अमाउंट से इंक्रीज हो गया है, तो यू कैन नॉट टेक इन एनी मोर पीपल, और यू कैन नॉट टेक इन एनी मोर फ्रेश मनी. तो कंपनीज हैव फाउंड अ वे अबाउट इट इन द फॉर्म ऑफ NFO. वो बोलते हैं कि अच्छा हमारा 800 करोड़ रीच हो गया या 2000 करोड़ रीच हो गया है, अब नहीं कर सकते इस स्कीम में और नहीं ले सकते, लेट अस लॉन्च एन NFO, तो और पैसा आएगा और बिजनेस बढ़ेगा. तो दैट इज वन वे. तो कई बारी एज इन्वेस्टर्स वी फील कि इनके पास इतना ज्यादा पैसा हो गया, विल दे बी इवन एबल टू मैनेज आवर मनी. So there are such doubts that we have for a company like SBI as well, or for HDFC, or for ICI for that matter. But at the same time, when this company is coming in with a new product, उनके जो इन्वेस्टमेंट स्ट्रैटेजी होता है या जो मार्केट स्ट्रैटेजी होता है, दैट इज डिफरेंट फ्रॉम देयर ओल्डर प्रोडक्ट्स, एंड दे आर कमिंग इन विद न्यू एनर्जी की नया फंड है, इसके साथ वी हैव टू अचीव और वी हैव टू डिलीवर अ कंप्लीटली डिफरेंट मार्केट परफॉर्मेंस. अब तक के जो हमारे प्रोडक्ट्स थे वो ऐसा परफॉर्म कर रहे थे, और हमारा टारगेट बेस जो था वो इस एज के या रिस्क एवर्स लोग थे. बट नाउ विद दिस न्यू फंड कमिंग इन, we want to target everyone, या we want to target the youth, or we want to target some risk lover wala category of investors. So there are these nuances as well. So again, it depends on how well you research कि NFO में invest करना है या नहीं करना है, कितना करना है, is it good or is it not. So it's again a personal preference and research.
Right. And Manmeet, would you like to respond to the earlier question that was raised while you were talking about a good insurance policy, a health insurance policy, and or a life insurance, and the
Right.
premium that is payable?
Let me just grab my. So it was only a couple of days ago. So I had bought this health insurance plan for my parents from a company X. I'll not name them here. And there is you must know that there is a free look period with every policy that you buy. Generally it's 15 days, sometimes it's a month as well. तो अगर आपने पॉलिसी खरीद लिया है, आपके पास 15 दिन या 20 दिन का एक विंडो रहेगा वेयर यू कैन गो थ्रू द टर्म्स एंड कंडीशंस, एंड यू कैन रिटर्न इट टू द कंपनी कि नो, आई डोंट वांट टू कीप दिस विद मी एनीमोर, यू प्लीज रिटर्न माय प्रीमियम. तो उस केस में क्या हुआ, आई हैड बॉट दिस पॉलिसी फॉर माय पेरेंट्स, एंड आई हैड thankfully I saw some of the TNC, and I gave it back to the company. I got my premium back. So now I had to buy another policy for my parents, not just from the safety point of view, but also because 31st of March was approaching. So tax bachana tha. So I was after my parents' life, ki, buy something. And so I was in this, I went to Policy Bazaar. I was comparing a few plans. Ki if not that company X, what were the other 3 or 4 plans that I had shortlisted, and if any one of them is still available at a good premium. If because जैसे जैसे डेट पास आते हैं, they also tend to revise their premiums because demand ज़्यादा रहता है, so they leverage that increased demand. So I finally came across couple of them. There was I can name them here. There was Niva Bupa, there was Tata AIG, there was Star, there was Aditya Birla, and there was Bajaj Allianz. तो इतने ये जो 4-5 कंपनीज थे, एंड आई वाज सो फेड अप ऑफ गोइंग इनटू देयर पॉलिसी डॉक्यूमेंट वाले डिटेल्स दैट आई मैंने क्या किया स्टार्टिंग के 2-3 दिन आई ट्राइड रिसर्चिंग एंड देन आई फाइनली स्टॉप रिसर्चिंग. आई जस्ट यूज्ड टू लॉग इन टू द पॉलिसी बाजार और वो लोग आगे से कॉल बैक करते थे. तो एंड अगर मैं पॉलिसी बाजार वालों के फोन से परेशान हो जाती थी कि या फिर ऐसा भी था कि सम ऑफ द कंपनीज दैट हैड अर्लियर they had tie-ups with policy bazaar earlier but now they do not anymore. तो उनके रिस्पेक्टिव कंपनी वेबसाइट पे जाके you put in your details. They anyway don't allow you to proceed or get a quote without entering your email and phone numbers and some of these contact details. So you just go there, enter your particulars, and within 15 minutes you'll have a call from them कि you had visited our website, we can we help you with something and ye and wo. So that was a good way to save some time. And I already had the checklist with me कि ये चीजें हैं या नहीं है, do you have this, do you cover that or not. And that is how I finally shortlisted two of them. One was Niva Bhupa, and the other one was Aditya Birla. Both of them had some different and competing features. So I ultimately ended up buying आदित्य बिरला फॉर माय पेरेंट्स. एंड दोनों का एक चीज ये है कि सम ऑफ द कंपनीज, so suppose I mentioned these 5 or 6 names in the beginning. Some of them have such surging premiums for the same cover of 5 lakhs or 7 lakhs. किसी का premium was over 40,000 and with a couple of riders मेरे को वो 50,000 रुपीज से भी ज्यादा महंगा पड़ रहा था. On the contrary, there were 2 or 3 of them which were covered well far within 30,000. So I ultimately ended up buying Aditya. So yeah. But and एक चीज मैं यहाँ पे मेंशन करना चाहूंगी. The agents when they call you and you start एक्टिंग स्मार्ट, आपके पास ये है, आपके पास ये है, ये वाला क्लॉज तो नहीं है, एनसीबी कितना होगा, कितने टाइम के लिए होगा, वो सब बताएंगे. फिर आप पूछो एनसीबी डिडक्ट तो नहीं होगा, फिर आज नहीं मैम वो तो होगा, कितना होगा, इतना होगा. नो थैंक यू सो मच, आई डोंट वांट टू बाय योर प्रोडक्ट. Call closed. There was another one, वो मेरे को they were offering 25% copay. I'll not name the one here, बट वो कह रहे थे 25% कोपे. एंड देयर वाज अनदर वन जिनका कोपे नहीं था बट रूम रेंट पर एंड आईसीयू पर कैपिंग था. सो दैट वाज सिंपली अ रेड फ्लैग कि ये तो नहीं खरीदना. सो दे वर सिंपली आउट फॉर मी. So these things help you, if not select, at least eliminate what you don't want to have.
And these are standard clauses. It's not like you can negotiate for your insurance with the company. Okay. Okay. Anjali, is there anything you would like to add?
Well, not on health insurance. I don't do health and not so much on life and health insurance, but travel insurance this time, and especially when you're traveling outside of India, all the Indian companies, they offer you a lot of loads. Like my experience with Indian travel insurance was quite bad, even with ICICI, Lombard, and other things. And then they cut so much. They have this again for $40 for every time you go, you have to pay, and over and above that, they'll pay. So उनका एक limit रहता है. So this time when I was traveling with my younger one, and that too right after COVID, vaccinated kid, I wanted a tour where I could really be free. And I got this company, an international company, which covers the travel, and there was no deductible. Tie up with a lot of one of the main medical service provider, plus they had their doctors references online. So before going, I could download the nearest 3 for us, plus telecommunication. So when you're researching insurance companies, it really helps. What Manmeet is saying is true. You know, a little bit of effort. The same thing happened with car insurance. This time when I did it myself, I saved almost 5 grand on a car insurance, which is 30% of that cost. Plus, I got a car insurance where I know exactly where my service garages are and everything. So insurance policy bazaar mein grill karo unko, then you get to understand. And even of all these clauses, they sound a lot. You ask what it is for each of these clauses, and you understand what that clause actually means, and then you can take a decision as per your needs. Or on life insurance, I've never understood is that you get a life insurance for 30 years and they say the premium is less when you're younger, but they don't extend that term. If you take a life insurance at 25 years or 30 years, you get it for by the time you're 60, your life insurance is ended. Then again, when you buy a life insurance, you have to pay for 60 years. So I have really never understood this logic. Maybe Manmeet can help understand this.
So in that case, I would say it's good to have a term as well as an endowment plan. नहीं मरोगे तो कुछ तो पैसा आ जाएगा, although
नहीं तो
it'll be
endowment में भी
less.
तो term limited ही रहता है ना. They return your money while you're still alive.
But these
They
days,
don't give the endowment on your death only. Or is there a policy which is till death?
no, so it is whichever of them is earlier, either the end of the policy term or
True.
death.
So my question here is कि आप कम premium ले भी तो रहे हो, but you are taking it at when we are all young. But when you there doesn't seem to be an option which covers you actually for life.
So no, so there are some limited pay options. No,
No, there
actually, yeah.
are some policy
No, I got
which
your
like
point.
PNB Met has a policy which is for lifetime, but it is only a max of 10 lakhs as far as I know. And 10 lakh means nothing these days. But there are some other where you have a life cover, but those are very expensive. They factor in your old age costs while you are still younger. So maybe Manmeet, you do some research and send us the policy which will cover us till we die.
ठीक ठीक है.
Maybe you start with a policy at 25 or whatever, and by the time you're 40, you make sure that you buy another one which will last another 30, 40 years, whatever. 30 years, right? Max?
30 years is the normal that they are giving, Varsha. So you buy one at 30,
50
you pay the
50 में
lesser premium, but वो
50
60 में
में
फिर
खरीद
खत्म
लो.
हो जाएगा.
वो
हाँ?
50 में एक और खरीद लो, ऐसे कुछ करना पड़ेगा यार.
तो वो
इतना
हाँ
ऑप्टिमिस्टिक हो ना कि हम इतना जिएंगे और इतना मिलेगा करके, जबरदस्त.
नहीं बच्चों के लिए this
I
is
have
not for
one
you,
thing to
right?
add
This
on
is for
this.
your
Uh, the US side. The whole purpose of life insurance is you take it when you have dependents on you. So till the age you are 60, you don't have dependents. Maximum you can take up to 75 if your children are still dependent on you. Then you don't need life insurance, I think.
Yeah.
yeah, that is also a very valid point. You don't
Yes,
you should have they would have grown independent by
Your
then.
dependents, yeah, your dependents.
unless you've bought flats for them and you're paying EMIs on their behalf or something like that. Okay, so if there are no more questions, we should call it a close.
Yeah, thank you, Manmeet. Yeah.
Thank you, Manmeet. That was really very useful, and a lot of cold coffee is coming your way. Be prepared for a lot of hard work.
I'm just hoping
Thanks a lot, Manmeet.
sorry, couldn't hear you, sir.
No, I said thanks a lot.
My pleasure, sir. But I really, मतलब, I now know that I have to revise a lot of my notes, update them.
I think that's the thing with finance, you and taxes and this thing. You never know when things change and when you're out of date. So
Yeah.
one has to constantly
Be
keep
on
at
their
it,
toes.
to be abreast. Yeah, keep abreast of new developments, especially around the year end when announcements are made by the government. So thanks again, Manmeet. The talk will also be available on YouTube later for anybody else who would like to listen in a second time, or those who have missed the session today. Thank you. Thank you all for joining us today. Thanks. Thanks, Manmeet. Bye-bye.